Welcome to another edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy Pub Sports Radio, Thursday, January 6th. Ian Cameron with you, and we have reached the final week of the NFL regular season, Week 18. And as I always say when we talk about the final week of the NFL regular season, you almost have to take a preseason approach with handicapping this card. Motivation. Who wants to win? Who has to win? Who doesn't want to win? Who doesn't need to win? Who's resting starters? Who's got a full complement of their players on both sides of the football, in or out? All of those things are more important than anything else. Throw out X's and O's, throw out the matchups. It's not about, good run offense versus good run defense. I think this team's passing game can exploit a shaky secondary. There's still elements you look at when it comes to the matchups, but more than anything, this is about who cares, who doesn't, who's playing, who isn't. That is your four main factors when it comes to handicapping NFL Week 18, the final week of the season. So with that in mind, let's go through the card. We've got two games on Saturday, an ABC ESPN doubleheader on Saturday, starting with the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Denver Broncos. Kansas City, 10-point road favorites, 44 the total. We know what the scenario is for Kansas City. They are still alive for the number one seed, but to get it, they need a win plus a Tennessee Titans loss. But of course, the first step is a win here against Denver. So as far as Kansas City goes, you're getting focus, you're getting intensity, you're getting will to win from the Kansas City Chiefs in this game, especially with after what they said on the from the many of the players after the loss to Cincinnati last week, 34-31, talking about the disappointing setback that game was. I would expect definitely the Chiefs to respond here with a pretty good performance in this game. I think they roll Denver, to be honest with you. As far as the Broncos are concerned, 3 straight losses. They're now out of the playoffs. That was a hideous performance against the Chargers last week. Really non-competitive. They end up getting blown out in that football game, 34-13. Drew Lock continues to be just terrible at the quarterback position. There's nothing else to say. I mean, he's been absolutely awful. He doesn't seem to be getting any better, and obviously is going to play once again here with Teddy Bridgewater's season done due to injury. So, I think Kansas City should have the right mindset here. Certainly come into this game wanting to prove a point. I think they get the job done here. I like Kansas City, and I like them here first half full game. I'm going to split it up. You can get Kansas City minus 6.5 in the first half, and you can get them minus 10 for the full game. I think they can win this game by 2 touchdowns or more against this Denver team that, to be honest with you, they've been pretty lifeless the last couple of weeks, particularly on offense. And I think Kansas City just rolls in here and gets the job done. And let's not forget, the defense for Denver, when they played some pretty good offenses, they haven't been as good this year. Chargers absolutely go up and down the field with Justin Herbert and company against them. Certainly would think Patrick Mahomes in this very good Chiefs offense, which is looking like the Chiefs offense of old the last few weeks, is certainly going to do some damage here. So I like Kansas City here, first half full game split. I think the team total over 27.5 might be a good bet as well for Kansas City in this game. All right, Dallas and Philadelphia. Dallas, 6-point road favorites, 42.5 the total. This game on Saturday night. A lot of money has come in on Dallas, although there's now some buyback on Philly. It was as high as minus 7 on the Cowboys. And now we're seeing minus 6, minus 6.5. So there's some buyback taking place on Philly here. In spite of the fact Dallas has a COVID outbreak, 12 players placed on the COVID-19 protocol list, several of them starters. Yeah, it's definitely not going to be a full complement for Philadelphia. In fact, they're going to be decimated, very shorthanded. And I'm hearing they may not even put any starter on the field in this game against the Dallas Cowboys because of everything that's going on. So, yeah, there's really not a scenario where I could say I'm betting Philly here. For Dallas, though, yeah, they lost last week against Arizona. I think there's some incentive to play better and win in the finale. Jerry Jones, not that it matters what he says, but he came out earlier this week on radio and said, we're playing this game to win. We're going to have our guys in there. But when you're Dallas, how fired up are you going to be knowing you're pretty much locked into the 4 seed in the NFC? You're going to be hosting an NFC wildcard game as a 4 seed. You really can't move up. It's going to be highly unlikely. There actually are some scenarios, implausible as they are, where Dallas could go up to the 3 seed or the 2 seed in the NFC, depending on whether certain other teams win. I think they need a 49ers win, a Seahawks win, a Panthers win. They need some of those things to happen on the weekend to potentially move up, along with them winning, of course, against Philadelphia. So that outside possibility they could move up is there. But really, I mean, the 4 seed up to the 3 seed or the 2 seed, you're still going to have to host a wild card playoff game because only the 1 seed gets a bye to the divisional round. So I think Dallas definitely is going to have more starters, but here's the problem. I mean, how incentivized are they going to be to go balls to the wall here in this game? That's something you have to keep in mind as well going into this one. And it's not like they don't have some personnel issues to be weary of. Both running backs are banged up. Micah Parsons has been ruled out and placed on the COVID-19 list for them, and we know just what a difference maker and impact he's been on that defense this year. Tyron Smith, the left tackle, is still on the COVID list. No sign that he's going to be for sure back on the field for the Cowboys. And he's obviously one of the stalwarts of that offensive line. So, yeah, there's still definitely some question marks here for this Dallas Cowboys team in terms of who exactly is going to be there on the field for this game. So this is going to be a pass for me. I mean, I would still lean to the Dallas Cowboys, but just a lean right now. Probably not going to be a game I get involved in. Let's turn to Sunday. We got Green Bay, Detroit. Green Bay, 4-point road favorites, 44.5 the total in this game. So Aaron Rodgers apparently wants to play in this game, at least for a little bit. I don't know if Matt LaFleur is going to let him. That's going to end up being the question here going into this finale. And, you know, Green Bay's favored here against Detroit. I'd expect Detroit back home. It's their home finale. They've actually won 2 home games in a row against Arizona. Like, Arizona's going to the playoffs, and they beat Arizona at home, and then they beat Minnesota in a home game before that. You look at the other recent home game, they've lost a tough one to Chicago on Thanksgiving. They probably should have won that game. I mean, Detroit's played good football recently on their home field. I expect them to want to go out with a good effort here. Now, I think they physically were just spent last week against Seattle. They hit a wall. And it bothers me that Tim Boyle probably is going to have to be the quarterback again this week. I don't think that Jared Goff is going to be playing here in this game on Sunday. He's still questionable with the knee injury. If it's Tim Boyle, boy, it was a rough game, I would say, for him against the Seattle Seahawks last week. But I think given the situation, if you're Green Bay, who gives a flying you-know-what about this game, right? I mean, you've got the number 1 seed in the NFC. The road to the Super Bowl and that conference goes through Lambeau Field. Where is your desire to show up in this kind of game against a bad team? So, yeah, this is Detroit or pass for me, getting 4 in this one. Chicago, Minnesota. Minnesota 5-point home favorites, 44.5 the total in this game. Now, there is some money coming in on Minnesota as we're recording this, so we're going to have to wait and see who's going to be available for the Bears. Justin Fields apparently is going to start, or at least that's the last I heard, going into this game, as they want to get him a look here in the finale. As far as the Minnesota Vikings are concerned, look, I understand, I think with Kirk Cousins available to play this week, and he is going to play, he's coming off the COVID list, that definitely is going to help them, especially after what we saw from Sean Mannion. But, Adam Thielen's probably not going to play. So they're going to have to just keep on banking on Justin Jefferson to carry the way through the air. Dalvin Cook, he got injured Sunday night in the game against Green Bay. You're probably going to see Alex Madison have to carry more of the workload with the run game in this one. Say what you will about Chicago and all the issues they've had, and they're probably going to make a coaching change in the offseason. You wouldn't expect Matt Nagy to be back, but they haven't mailed it in here these last few games. The effort's been better. They've played with a little spirit. They absolutely destroyed the Giants last week. I would only look Chicago plus 5.5 here. Minnesota, with a team that is now officially out, they've not been good laying points. They only play close games for the most part anyway, except to get last week against Green Bay because they were just so shorthanded. And Green Bay had a lot to play for there. But this is definitely not a team I'm laying 5.5 with. It's that simple. So we'll see if I bet it, but I'll say right now, I will be looking for a reason to bet Chicago here because they are the preferred side getting points than laying it with this Minnesota team, which now knows that season's over for them, and it's been a disappointing one at that. New England, Miami. New England 6.5-point road favorites, 40 the total in this game. Yeah, I like New England here minus 6.5. It's gone up already. Miami's, I don't want to say fraud. Fraud's a strong word. They're a solid team. I do like Flores a little bit as the coach, but the schedule that they feasted on during that win streak was a joke. Come on. Like, let's not kid ourselves here, all right? Let's be serious. That was a joke of a schedule. And in terms of opponents, in terms of opposing quarterbacks, they played during that win streak, the Miami Dolphins, in terms of the quarterbacks they faced Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson. They faced Sam Darnold, I believe, and for Carolina, he played that day. No, it was actually Cam Newton and P.J. Walker, that duo. The Giants with Mike Glennon, the Saints with Ian Book. I mean, in terms of opposing quarterbacks and teams they beat, they didn't beat anybody really during that win streak. They beat the Jets twice. Big deal. The Giants. Carolina's had a bad year. Yeah, the Saints was a good win, but Saints had Ian Book. I mean, that was the win streak for the Miami Dolphins. Actually, they beat Baltimore. That's the one good win they had. And Houston, another bad, win. Who cares? It's Houston. I mean, they didn't beat anybody, essentially. I mean, that's why that win streak, everyone was talking about, wow, a red hot Miami. Well, you'll be red hot when you play those quarterbacks and those teams. And that's exactly what happened. I faded Miami last week against Tennessee. I'm saying now they're playing a real team. Now they're playing a team with a defense, at least a solid quarterback in Tannehill, and they get absolutely blown out 34-3 in that game, officially eliminating Miami from the playoffs. So whatever small playoff hopes they had, they're gone. New England got back on track in a big way against Jacksonville, 50-10 after losses to the Bills and the Colts. And I think New England really wants this one because, look, when you look at earlier this year, Miami beat them 17-16, and it's still a game that New England feels to this day. They should have won that game. They made too many mistakes, turnovers. I think they get Miami back, and I think they win by a touchdown or more here. So I like New England here minus 6.5. And Mac Jones, I think he'll be able to do well here. And again, Tua Tagovailoa against any sort of capable defense. That's a dink and dunk offense. It doesn't have a lot of explosiveness. He's making some mistakes. He's throwing behind his receivers a little bit. It happened all the time against Tennessee last week. Yeah, not a defense I trust him against, going against Bill Belichick here in the Patriots. All right, Indianapolis and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Indy, 15-point road favorites, 44 the total in this game. There's no way I'm laying this many points with Indy, even though this game does mean something to them. It's just not going to happen. I mean, it's just too many points here with the Colts in this game to lay on the road. I don't want to really back Jacksonville, though, either. Although Jacksonville's been, oddly enough, a thorn in the side of the Colts. They've covered 4 straight head-to-head against the Indianapolis Colts, and they've won 2 of those games. So you got to give the Jaguars credit. You look at the last 4 meetings, Jacksonville won 2 of them, and January 3rd at the end of last year, 28-14 Colts, and then earlier this year, 23-17 for the Indianapolis Colts. Jacksonville has, I'd honestly take Jacksonville before Indy in this game. And I know this game is significant for Indianapolis in terms of the playoffs. But, when you look at this game here, there's a lot of points. You're paying a premium here, and you're paying a premium with a quarterback who's still struggling. Carson Wentz is still not playing great for this team right now. That's a problem for me. Going into this game, laying this kind of number like they are. Yeah, I like the O-line of Jonathan Taylor. You love him. You like the defense. Coach is good, Frank Reich. But my goodness, laying this many points, and when your quarterback can't necessarily be trusted one play to the next, that's a problem for me going into this one. So that's the concern I've got here for the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, definitely win, and they're in the playoffs for good, but my goodness, I mean, 15.5 points. I'm not laying that many here with Indy. Jets and Bills. We've got Buffalo, 16-point home favorites, 41 the total. It's very simple for Buffalo. Win, and they clinch the AFC East. They obviously should win this game. The Jets are horrible. The bet I like here is over 41. Look, I don't understand why this total's been bet down so low. And the Jets totals for weeks, and I've said this on the show, they're lower than they should be. This team's got an all-time brutal defense that hasn't gotten any better. They're absolutely terrible on that side of the ball. They give up 28 in a loss to the Bucs last week. Somehow Jacksonville gets 21 against them with that offense where Lawrence has 2 touchdowns in the last 9 games. And Jacksonville scores 21 against the Jets. They give up 31 to Miami, 30 to New Orleans, who were decimated on offense in that game, 33 to Philly, 45 to Buffalo the last time they played them, 45 to Indy, 31 to Cincinnati. I mean, go on down the list. This team's been a shit show defensively. They've trended over the total, and yet every week people can't get enough of betting these Jets games under the total and apparently losing. You know, they can do that all they want. I'm going the other way. I mean, the Bills put 45 on the board against the Jets earlier this season, and that would be enough all by itself to go over this total here in this game. So, and look, Braxton Berrios for the Jets is the one guy that they found to be a big-time playmaker for them. That has definitely helped. They've definitely got a ton of injuries, the Jets, but the Bills should be good to get at least 31, 35, 38 points at least. I think they can get in this game against this Jets team. You just get 1 or 2 scores from the Jets, and there's your over. So that's what I like here. Bills and Jets over 41. Carolina, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay 8-point home favorites, 41.5 the total in this game. Lot going on here with the Bucs, of course, going into this game. I don't know if I want to lay 8 with them. We saw them barely beat the New York Jets last week, laying a big number. I don't know if I want to back this Carolina Panthers, though, either. They have gone 0-6 against the spread their last 6 games and 0-6 straight up. So it's been a rough stretch for them. Don't know if I want to back either of these teams at the moment in this game. We'll see if they can do it. Tampa Bay, of course, win, and they can definitely get their hands on the number 2 seed. They must defeat Carolina in order to have a chance for the number 2 seed behind Green Bay. So there is definitely still something here at stake for the Buccaneers. So I'm going to pass, though. It's just I don't want to lay 8, but not going to take Carolina either. Tennessee, Houston. Tennessee, 10-point road favorites, 43 the total in this game. Now, Tennessee, I cashed a ticket with them last week against Miami. I leaned to them here, or I leaned to Houston here. I just think this is not Tennessee's. This is not their point spread role that I love them in. Not by any stretch of the imagination. Laying 10 on the road, and, I know that, and they lost to Houston earlier this year. So maybe this time around, and look, I know if they win, they get the number 1 seed in the AFC. They got everything to play for here. They can get the number 1 seed if they win this game, Tennessee. There's just a lot of points on the road to be laying against a Houston team that last home game we saw them play here in this stadium. They beat the Chargers 41-29 as double-digit dogs. And look, and another thing, too, to keep in mind, that even though Houston covered and failed to cover, and that was a brutal beat if you had the Texans against San Francisco last week, 23-7, they hung in the game for 3.5 quarters, and then the roof caved in on them late, particularly their defense. And Davis Mills threw a costly interception that gave the Niners a short field and allowed them to punch in the score that, or at least get the score that set up the point spread cover for them. But Houston, to me, has at least been very, very scrappy and competitive the last few games. Not the easiest team to want to lay 10 against, even with Tennessee needing everything here. And Tennessee has that way of, like, even in the win against Miami, 34-3, that offense really didn't do anything until later in the game when they wore down the Miami defense. So it's still not the kind of offense, the Titans, where we really feel 100% comfortable laying 10 on the road with them, even against Houston. So my lean here would be toward Houston, lean to the under as well in this game. Washington, New York Giants. Washington, 6.5, 7-point road favorites, 38 the total. The Giants are that bad that I'm laying it with Washington here. Washington against Philly, that was a great response after that just embarrassing game against Dallas on Sunday Night Football. The effort from Washington was very good in that game against an Eagles team that was playing well, that had a lot at stake. They should have no problem against the Giants. They really shouldn't. The Giants are just pathetic right now. 5 straight losses, all of them by double digits. The last one against the Bears was just beyond humiliating, 29-3. And somehow they finished the game with minus passing yards, negative passing yards for the New York Giants. It's at the point now where it doesn't matter who's at quarterback. Jake Fromm, Mike Glennon, They could find someone off the street for all I care. Their offense is broken. It's in shambles. They have no passing attack. They have no downfield passing game whatsoever at this point in time. This should be a very easy offense for Washington to defend. And to ask them to win by a touchdown here, even on the road, I think it's manageable. It's something they can do. I would only look to the Washington side there. New Orleans, Atlanta. New Orleans 4.5-point road favorites, 40 being the total here in this one. So New Orleans isn't fully out yet, but boy, they need a lot to go their way in order to make the playoffs in this game. So they've had all kinds of situations that they got to look at. They have the opportunity to win a wild card spot. They've got to beat Atlanta, and the Rams have to beat the 49ers on Sunday. So we'll see. It's definitely possible for the Saints to get in, but it starts with a win here against Atlanta. They should win this game. I would lean New Orleans here, but oddly enough, the Falcons have been one of those teams that have given the Saints fits at times. Remember, they beat New Orleans earlier this year, back in November, 27-25. And, to be honest, even though that ended 29-15, Falcons, their effort was solid against the Bills. They didn't show signs of a team just packing it in, rolling over. And they might want to play spoiler here. And it's still a New Orleans offense with Taysom Hill at quarterback, which they're happy to have him back at least after what they got from Ian Book. And obviously happy to have Alvin Kamara back as well. But still an offense, it's tricky to lay 4.5 with them on the road. I lean Saints, but I don't expect to be betting that game. Pittsburgh, Baltimore 6-point home favorites, 41.5 the total in this game. This is Baltimore or nothing for me. I mean, I know Pittsburgh is still alive, and they're still, it's a long shot for the Steelers to get into the playoffs at this point in time. I mean, you're looking at it here in this game where, they need a win, but they need the Colts somehow to lose to Jacksonville as well to get into the playoffs here. So that's going to be tricky in my mind. Baltimore, they need to beat Pittsburgh. They need the Colts and the Chargers to lose, and the Dolphins to lose or tie against New England. So it's even more complicated for them. So these two teams are still alive. They're going to go into this game with a slim possibility to make the playoffs, but I don't expect either one will. But the reason I would lean Baltimore is, look, emotional night for Big Ben, home finale. They get the win against Cleveland. Short week now. This has the makings of just they used up all their energy. They used up all their emotion, intensity the other night. And what do they have left here against Baltimore? Baltimore lost a tough one to Pittsburgh earlier this year. So I think the Ravens kind of want to go out with a win here in this one. I'm not crazy about where the number is. You're laying 6 with a Baltimore team that's barely won games lately, let alone covered, as winning by margin. So, but there's no really possible way I could back Pittsburgh here. And Pittsburgh hasn't been as good on the road all season as they've been at home. That's another thing. They've had some ugly, ugly games on the road. I mean, they got crushed by Cincy on the road. They got crushed by Kansas City on the road. This would be a Ravens -6 or nothing for me in this game. I think it's a difficult spot for the Steelers. Even though they're still alive, they should still come out here wanting to win, keep their slim hopes alive. A lot has to happen, and they expended a lot in that game against Cleveland on Monday night in the final home game of Ben Roethlisberger's career. Cincinnati, Cleveland, 5.5, 6-point home favorites, 38 the total. Looks like we're going to have a backup quarterback duel here. Brandon Allen for Cincy and Case Keenum for Cleveland, with both Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield ruled out. There's definitely a lot of question marks personnel-wise for both teams going into this Battle of Ohio. Of course, Cleveland's out. Cincinnati is definitely clinched the division last week with that win against the Kansas City Chiefs in that thrilling game. So, there's definitely a situation where the Bengals are, just taking it easy here. The resting guys prep for the wild card game. But the one bet that I think I like here is the over at this number, 38, because Brandon Allen has started a bunch of games in the NFL. Case Keenum took the Minnesota Vikings to the NFC Championship game a few years ago. He's a very capable quarterback. We've got this total at 38, thinking these quarterbacks are just, chop liver here. They're capable of moving the ball. I think they will. You get a 21-17 And that's a push in this game with the total being 38 right now. I think the over's worth a shot here. Allen and Keenum are more than serviceable. There's still some weapons on both teams here to be able to take advantage of that. And there are some defensive starters, both sides of the ball, or both teams, with some key defensive starters not expected to play in this game. So I like over 38 there at a very low number in that Bengals-Browns game. Seattle, Arizona, 6.5-point home favorites, 48 the total. I'm probably not betting it. I mean, Arizona obviously needs a win and a Rams loss to clinch the NFC West. They definitely have something at stake. Seattle showed up last week. I didn't expect that against Detroit. Can they show up again on the road here? Wilson and the Seahawks at least didn't show signs of packing it in. Maybe they want to play spoiler here. And usually they're a better bet as a road dog in the tenure of Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll here in Seattle. But I don't know if they're going to match up well with Arizona. Arizona kind of got their mojo back a little bit. Big win for them against Dallas. Should feel a little bit more confidence. But at the same time, Arizona struggled at home. They're laying 6.5 at home. I don't want to lay it with Arizona, but I don't know if I want to back Seattle. So it's a decision for me to pass this game. Maybe the over 48. I could see some points. I think Arizona can score. Seattle, look, they're better offensively than they are defensively right now. I mean, they let Detroit really get their offense going throughout that game, but Detroit couldn't stop Seattle. So maybe we see points in that game. The total's gone up. I kind of would agree with that. San Francisco, LA Rams. Rams 4.5-point home favorites, 44.5 the total in this game. I'm not going to argue with series history. And obviously the Niners need this win to get in the playoffs. The Rams needing the win to clinch the NFC West. So this is a huge game here in the late window on Sunday. The 49ers trying to obviously cement their playoff spot. We'll have to wait and see if they're able to do that. Of course, when you look at it from a 49ers standpoint, Jimmy Garoppolo, suffered the partially torn ligament in his right thumb in the game against Tennessee, sat out last week. Garoppolo, they say if he's healthy, he will start. Probably will be a game day decision, apparently, from what we've heard. So it's still could be Trey Lance, but obviously the 49ers hoping and expecting Jimmy Garoppolo to come back. But I'm not going to argue with series history here. 49ers are 5-0 straight up, 4-1 against the spread, the last 5 against the Rams head-to-head. Shanahan's gotten the better of McVay. It happened earlier this year, and that was when the 49ers were decimated. They were shorthanded like crazy back then, and they weren't playing well, and they still handed it to the LA Rams earlier this year. Can't ignore what the Niners have done head-to-head against the Rams. I would take the points here with San Francisco plus 4.5. And the LA Rams, Matt Stafford's becoming a turnover machine as well. He's had some nice game-winning drive against the Ravens last week, but he's still been turning the ball over a bit too much for my liking lately. That could be an issue here. I think we get a close game. Field goal game either way wouldn't surprise me here. Again, 49ers playing for their playoff lives. They're playing for their season. Obviously, the Rams have a lot at stake too, trying to clinch the division, but the 49ers have been a consistently good matchup against the Rams. They've matched up well over and over against this Rams team. So I'm going to look to them plus 4.5 in that game. And we end it with Sunday Night Football, the final regular season game for this season. The Chargers and the Raiders. Winner take all, win and in to get into the playoffs. Chargers 3-point road favorites, 49.5 the total in this one. Look, all the credit in the world to the Las Vegas Raiders. They battled their asses off all year. Adversity, the Gruden nonsense, the Henry Ruggs, the car accident situation, a lot of injuries, and yet they fought their way to putting themselves in a position to make the playoffs here with a home win. Here's the problem, though. Look at the last 3 wins for Las Vegas. You can poke holes in all of them. Cleveland with emergency third-string quarterback. They were riddled with COVID absences a few weeks ago on that Monday game when the Raiders beat the Browns. Nick Mullins was the quarterback for the Browns. The week after that, they played Denver. Denver lost Teddy Bridgewater in that game, and the Raiders took advantage of that. Last week, they faced the Colts with Carson, and it was a good win against a solid Colts team, but Wentz was out of practice all week because he was on the COVID protocol list, and you could tell he was not sharp from the very beginning of that game. He was totally out of sync. And the Raiders kind of took advantage of that. So you could say each of the last 3 wins for Las Vegas, they've taken advantage of favorable matchups, favorable situations. I still think, and look, it's scary to lay points with the Chargers with what we can see from their defense, especially against the run. but their defense has been a little bit better, 2 of the last 3 games. They're only laying a field goal here. I still think they're a little bit more talented than the Raiders. With all due respect to Derek Carr and Justin Herbert, I'll take him in a game like this. I'll take the weapons of the Chargers over what we got from the Raiders. And I still think the Chargers, and coming into the year, obviously, I thought the Chargers would have a better chance to make the playoffs than the Raiders, who have obviously played better than me or a lot of people expected. But I think the Chargers would be the only way I would bet it here in this one. And to be honest, the Chargers kind of play better on the road at times than they do at home. And obviously, they don't get the home field advantage at SoFi Stadium that other teams do when they play at home. So I would look to LA Chargers here, -3. And I like the over as well, 49.5. I think we'll see points. I think the Raiders will move the ball with Carr and with Jacobs on the ground. And I think the Chargers will do damage against the Raider D. And I think we can get a higher scoring game there. Total's only 49.5, 27-24. That kind of game, I could see it. So I like the over as well, Sunday Night Football with the Chargers and the Raiders. All right, there's your Week 18 NFL betting preview. Thanks to everyone for watching Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. Hit the like button on the way out if you haven't already. We'll wrap up the show with a Week 18 best bet right after this. All right, Southtown 101, when you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke. Southtown 101, Manscaped, promo code PubSports, 20% off your purchase. Lawnmower 4.0 or any Manscaped product using promo code PubSports. And mybookie.ag, promo code PubSports. Great time of year. Sign up for an account. Bitcoin accepted currency for your deposit. Mybookie.ag, promo code PubSports. All right, best bet for Week 18 in NFL action. Let's see what we got. For best bet, let's see. Let's do the let's do Jets Bills over 41. I just think that total is astronomically low given the situation, given how bad the Jets defense has been, given the fact the Bills put up 45 points when they faced the Jets earlier this year, and that was in New York. Now they play them at home. I think the Bills can get to that total almost all by themselves, and all you need is maybe 7 or 10 from the Jets, and boom. That game goes over the total. New York Jets, Buffalo Bills, over 41. That is going to be my best bet for this week's Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. And that'll wrap up this edition of the show. We will be back next Thursday, January 13th, and we will preview Wild Card Weekend in the NFL. Looking forward to that as the playoffs get underway. I'm Ian Cameron. Thanks for watching Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy right here on Pub Sports Radio.